Hey, welcome to week 6 of HSK 3. If you've made it this far through the whole program, you have only 2 weeks left to finish HSK 1, 2, and 3, and you're doing great. Good job. So we're going to start off with a pretty easy one today. Yo, yo. Yo, what's up? Yeah. Actually, this is not how you spell yo. It's spelled like this, Y-O-U, fourth tone. But hey, you know, when you have a yo-yo, you may as well make it a yo-yo. You know what I'm saying? So the structure is, it's yo, which we've learned before to mean again in the past, but here it doesn't mean that. It's a way to say both adjective and adjective, like both tall and handsome. In fact, that's my first example right there. So yo, so if you have a subject and then just yo adjective, and it means it's emphasizing both this adjective and that adjective, and they're complementary. They're two adjectives that enhance the meaning of each other. It's like both, they're either both good or both bad. Generally, it's like both tall and handsome. This dude is amazing. He's both tall and handsome. All right, so here's a couple of examples. This is 那位男生又高又帅. 那位男生 means that young man or that male student, something like that. And 位, by the way, is a measure word referring to people specifically. So, but it shows more respect than using 个. 个 is more common, like 那个人 is more common, but 那位 is a little bit more formal. It's a little bit, it's specifically nicer sounding. 那位男生, that guy, 又高又帅. He's both tall and handsome. By the way, one of my seeming objectives is to see how many examples I can get the word 高 into. So there we go. We got another one. 我的作业, my homework, 又难又多. 又难又多. That means both hard and much, meaning there's a lot of it. Excuse me. 我的作业又难又多. By the way, this is saying like 我的作业很多. My homework is very many or very much. That's not an English way to say something. We would say I have a lot of homework, or there is a lot of homework. And you can use that structure, those structures in Chinese as well, but it's fine in China to say subject 多, like subject and then a predicate adjective, just like saying 我很高兴. You can say something 很多. And so it won't translate well to English directly, but it works here. 我的作业又难又多. And then 中国菜, that's Chinese food, 又便宜又好吃. So it's both cheap or inexpensive and delicious. So there you go. It's a very simple structure. There's not much to it in terms of, it's not difficult, but it's very helpful to emphasize something. A couple of other, I mentioned that they should be complementary ideas, either both good and the two adjectives. I also wanted to mention there's another structure that's very similar, but the difference is it can be used with phrases, not just with adjectives. So it's ji, yo, or ji, yeah. And the structure will be very similar. The difference is this, instead of just an adjective, it can also be like a verb clause. So two verb clauses. It's both this and that kind of thing. And then also, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that it's going to sound better if the two adjectives have the same number of syllables. You notice how this is one syllable, one syllable, one syllable, one syllable, two syllables, two syllables. I'm not sure that that's necessary, but it wouldn't surprise. It feels more natural, and it wouldn't surprise me if it actually plays out like that. But I'm not 100% sure about that. So there you go. This is yo yo. In this clip, we're going to talk about the phrase 直到, which means something like all the way until. It emphasizes a long time has passed. it took a long time for something to happen, or a long time has passed and something didn't happen. So it emphasizes the length of time. It's not usually necessary for facts, but it emphasizes the feeling like this is considered a very long time. And you might be able to guess that in the affirmative, it took a long time for something to happen. It is paired with 才 in the second part of the construction, because it took a long time. 才 something happens, and in the negative form, it took a long time, like a whole bunch of time passed and something still didn't happen. It's paired with 都 because in all that time, this thing 都 didn't happen. So I have 2 positive examples and 2 negative examples. By the way, the phrase in English, you wouldn't always translate this phrase into all the way until. That's more of a way just to understand the meaning of it. But when you translate it into English, you might translate it slightly differently. Okay, so here we go. The first example is 直到12点半. So all the way until, or up until, or whatever. 12点半. That's 12 o'clock half. So that's 12:30. All the way until 12:30. 我才做完作业. This, by the way, all of the examples are from All Set Learning. I'll just get that out of the way. 我才, it wasn't until then that I finished my homework. So, so does that make sense? It was 12:30 before I finished my homework. That would be like the way we might say that in English. Okay, so here's another example. And this one, you'll notice that the 知道 phrase is after the subject. Here we had it as like a phrase with a comma, and then we go on with the main sentence. Here we have the we have the subject and then the 知道 phrase tucked in here. And like you might have noticed in other examples that are similar to this idea, like a simple time phrase, for example, if it comes before the subject and it has any length to it, it often has a comma. And if it comes after the subject and is tucked into the phrase, then it's just part of the whole phrase and there's no comma. That tends to be true for a lot of different time-related phrases. Okay, so 他直到 all the way 18岁, 18 years old, 才见到亲生父母. 才见到 means to meet or see. 亲生父母 means birth parents. 亲生 is like, 亲 means to be like closely related. 生 is birth, so birth parents. And also I wanted to point out that the pronunciation 知道 sounds a little bit like 知道, to know information. And it is different. The tones are different. The characters are different. This means straight, and this means arrival. So it's like all this time until, boom, something finally happens or something never happened. Here's some negative examples. 直到他搬到上海. So all the way until he moved to Shanghai. 我们都没见过. We did not 见过, did not meet each other, did not get to know each other or meet each other. So this means that all the way until he moved to Shanghai. So it makes it feel like that was some time. I didn't meet him. In other words, in English you'd say, I didn't meet him until he moved to Shanghai, or I didn't meet him until the point he moved to Shanghai, with the sense of that was a long period. This one might be like you're explaining, maybe a woman is explaining when she met her husband, and you tell his life story, and then at some point he moves to Shanghai, and she's saying, I didn't meet him all that time until he moved to Shanghai. 直到电影结束. So this is all the way until the movie was completed, finished. 他都没来. So this is saying, I didn't meet him, or no, excuse me, he did not come that whole time until the movie was finished. In other words, it's saying that he didn't come at all. The movie had already been done, and he still hadn't come. So it doesn't specify whether the person ever came. It's just saying up until all the way until the end of the movie, he still didn't show up. 他都没来. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. This is a little bit more of a complicated. I don't know if it's complicated. I just what I'm trying to say is when you put together your own sentences, I could see this being like a little bit of a like, oh, how does this go and how do I put this together? But try to use these examples as a starting point, as a launch pad, and see if you can come up with some of your own examples and kind of learn to intuit the phrase a little bit more and how it works. I would say that most importantly, understanding the feeling of this phrase, and when you hear other people say it, is probably more important than being able to produce this right away. It's it's not the kind of phrase that's going to show up in every conversation, but it is important to know what someone's saying when they say 知道 a certain time. And so there you have it. I hope that's helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. You're doing great.